Presiding Officer, Sandy Peggy, an NHS nurse for 30 years, spoke up for her sex-based rights in her workplace because she did not want to share a changing facility with a biological male. But in doing so, she's been treated as the perpetrator, not the victim. I know that the presiding officer considers this case to be sub judice. Nothing I say here today will prejudice any live proceedings, because at the heart of this case are the policies of the SNP government. Presiding officer, we need a ministerial statement on public sector workers and single-sex spaces. I am grateful to the Minister, despite the late notice, for being open to considering this request. Yes.
Jackie Baillie.
Can I thank Tess White for taking the intervention? The protection of single-sex spaces based on biological sex is a matter of law. It's in the Equality Act. In supporting the motion for a statement, would Tess White agree with me that the Scottish Government and its agencies are not above the law?
Tess White.
Thank you, Jackie Baillie. I completely agree with you that the Scottish Government and its agencies are not above the law. The situation that has arisen in NHS Fife speaks volumes about what is happening behind closed doors in Scotland's public sector under this SNP government. The reality is that Nicola Sturgeon's self-ID policy has binned the rights of biologically female employees to access single-sex spaces. Taxpayers' money is being used to cover legal costs to defend a public body's gender policy. But there is no transparency over the cost to the public purse because the health board involved will not disclose this information. Presiding officer, that's simply not acceptable, especially when the health service is in crisis and budgets are being squeezed. It's been reported that the Health Secretary, Neil Gray, was made aware in June last year of the situation in NHS Fife and the legal implications surrounding it. Presiding officer, we need clarity over Neil Gray's involvement or lack thereof. And presiding officer, the public interest in this issue is huge. It has been covered extensively in the press. MSPs have been contacted by constituents with legitimate questions and concerns, and yet we haven't been able to bring these questions to the Chamber. Topical questions, FMQs and urgent questions on this issue have not been selected. Meanwhile, our colleagues in Westminster have been able to raise it. It is deeply disappointing that once again this Parliament cannot discharge its duties to the public because members do not have parliamentary privilege. Presiding officer, women are watching today. The public have had enough of the recent abdication, obfuscation and moral cowardice from this government. We are only going to see more witch hunts at the public's expense if we do not get clarity on the Scottish Government's position. And I urge members to support my amendment to today's business motion. Thank you.